Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear Aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, what's your secret? Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear Aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
This episode is sponsored by AutoTrader. Credit scores, down payments, interest rates. Car buying can be a numbers game, but you don't have to be a math expert to get the keys to your dream car. Just use Kelley Blue Book My Wallet on AutoTrader. Crunch your numbers and get your personalized results so you know exactly how much you'll pay each month for your car. It's like having a magic wand for your wallet. Presto! The car you've been wanting is now within reach. So hit the road and leave your calculator at home. Find your next car on autotrader.com.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, and Isaac. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. If you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we'll be starstruck daily.
Tuning into Horror Virgin, I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, Paige, I'm going to make it very clear that you made us watch Piranha 3 Double D.
I'll explain. First of all, I had never seen it, so I went in blind. I pulled a Todd.
That's a reference to our Romance in the Pod episode, because I'm well known for picking shitty movies I have not seen on that podcast.
Also, I am well known for stumbling onto gems, even if I haven't seen them. But this is now, because we are recording way ahead of time, this is 2 for 2.
It is
from
back
me.
to back, Paige.
Back to back. I'm so sorry.
That Falling for Figaro episode, and I think this episode comes out the week, maybe the week before that or the Monday before that.
Yes.
But man, wait till y'all hear that Falling for Figaro episode. I lost my mind recording
Never have we both shouted at each other in agreement so much.
I know. But much like that movie, this movie feels like the person who made it knew that we wouldn't care about any of these people in it, and we're just swinging for the fences when it relates to nudity.
Yeah, swinging like a big old pair of titties.
Yeah, it's like a porn producer was like, I wonder if maybe we put clothes on half of them if we could make more money. Do you think we could release it in theaters? Maybe just like clothes on half of them? No. Keep the scene where the guy gets a fish on his dick. We need that. But like clothes on half of them.
By clothes on half of them, I mean they're all wearing one item of clothing, but only half the amount they normally would.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
Oh, God. I thought it was too late your time, because I watched this last night. I thought about texting you to just say, I made a mistake. This might just be a porno. But you know what? No mistake. This is the first time I've ever had a notes document that was all caps for basically the whole movie. Because like, what? What is happening? The theme for the next few movies. So if you want to start thinking of your listener request now, the theme is summer vacation.
Right, summer vacation horror. You know, like your Jaws movies. I mean, we've done summer horror before, you know?
We've done it in a couple different iterations. We've done just generic summer horror. We've done summer camp before.
Yeah.
But I was like, vacation, which could take very many forms.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be at the beach or at the big wet water park.
Yeah.
But, you know, it could be anywhere. But that's the theme. When you said we were going to talk about the theme, I was like, in this, what would be without the credits 64-minute movie? No, we're not going to talk about the theme.
It's with credits, and I mean opening and closing. It's exactly 80 minutes long. This is barely a movie.
Paige, it's barely a Rick and Morty episode. They're really stretching out scenes too, man.
I mean, there are many points in this movie when an actress is covered in gore, but also has a nice set of boobs, and the camera is like, gore, gore, gore.
Boobs?
Slow motion boobs.
Yeah.
One would be upset about the objectification of male gaze if it wasn't done so blatantly as to clearly be a joke. Like, it's madness.
Is it a joke?
I hope so. No, maybe it's not. I don't know.
Is it? I don't know. I really do think that, like, Dirk Diggler produced this movie and was like, let's get as many tits on screen as possible.
So let me verify, because I bleary-eyed was looking this up last night. It's the son of a very famous horror character actor who has been featured on our show, I think at least twice at this point, one of which being Return of the Living Dead, another movie with some gratuitous nudity that, is pretty fun though. But it's his son. This may be one of that famous actor's last films, I think. That's what I'm trying to kind of verify.
Is he in this movie?
Yes.
Is it Gary Busey? Is it Gary Busey's son?
No, but Gary Busey is also in this movie. No, the character actor is Clu Gulager, who has been in a couple different things on this show.
Yeah, I mean, he's Mo in this movie, and he was in Return of the Living Dead. He was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's been in a bunch of movies that we've done for sure, yeah.
Right, and so he's a cinematographer and actor. In this movie, largely a cinematographer, John Gulager makes this movie, and also has made a handful of other things, but like this is the biggest claim to fame. And yeah, so like that's what we're dealing with, where I think it is a joke. I think it's supposed to be like the pulp movies of like horror movies of back in the day.
I mean, it certainly does feel like a sexploitation horror film.
Yes, well, and same with like the first one did too, because again, this is a sequel. You need a pair of them.
And isn't Jeremy O'Connell a porn?
Jerry O'Connell.
That's right, it's Jerry O'Connell. Sorry, isn't he a porn producer in the first one?
Yeah, well, he's like the Girls Gone Wild guy. He's
that's porn.
like Rick Solomon. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, that's porn.
He's like one of those guys in the first one, which is how they kind of explain away the boobs in the first one.
Yeah.
The explanation for the boobs in this one, tenuous, but I'm gonna say something controversial. I know his plan would make millions if you put it in the right place. Like, it's not a bad plan, especially because it requires voluntary. Like, we'll get into it when we talk about his plan for the water park, but I think it's $1 million idea, and he
Paige,
everyone was a little harsh on it.
Paige, if you put that shit in Vegas, that's a moneymaker, baby.
Oh my God,
For sure.
I want to go. Yeah. Yes.
I do not want to go, but I know people would.
Look, everyone wants to think that the pools in Vegas are sexy, but they're always like bringing DJs there, and then it's a bunch of hot people like standing around in 3 feet of water. No, I want what this guy is proposing, which is basically like, do you want margaritas?
A topless water slide, baby.
Yeah, do you want margaritas and you can skinny dip as much as you want? Yes! Yes, I do!
Yeah.
I don't want the coochie cam, but everything else...
Oh my God.
This sounds awesome!
I just want to go on the record saying that Paige loves this movie. She's on board for the premise. She loves the water park. She wants the Big Wet to move into a Vegas residency.
I predicted what I think this movie thinks is its wildest kill 30 minutes before it happened.
Okay, so Paige, the wildest kill for me, it's got to be the dick bite off, right?
Yeah, right, yes.
Actually,
that's the one I predicted.
You know what's the most scary about that scene specifically? We have before that point in the movie, seeing them like the piranha, I don't know, the singular piranha can like bash its head and like bite through metal, Paige. Metal.
Through steel. Yeah. No, we haven't seen it at that point.
Paige, we see it a bunch in this movie.
That's true.
And it can't bite through his dick? How hard was his dick, Paige, that he couldn't bite through it? The piranhas can bite through steel, Paige. How hard was it? Your Honor, I just have to ask one simple question.
Sustained!
It was sustained very significantly, and we need to get to the bottom of it, honestly.
He did sustain some injuries. First of all, it was like ramming through the steel, not just biting it. But secondly, I like to think maybe he was just savoring it.
Gross.
But thirdly, it was trying not to use teeth, but it's not very experienced.
It's hard. From what I understand, it's hard, especially when it gets all the way back.
Yeah. Of course, jaw, you get sore.
I would. Yeah, I don't know. I truly, actually, I have the worst gag reflex in the world. You know that. So like,
yes,
I would be the worst at that activity.
Hey, you know what? We all have different skills and different callings.
We all do have different skill sets. Yes.
It made me want to change the theme. I won't. I'm not gonna.
Good. I don't think I could do 3 more of these types of movies. I did think this movie was like wild crazy. And I'm happier to know that like maybe it is a joke. Maybe the guy,
I think
maybe it is a joke.
Yes.
So like that makes me feel better about like overall the movie.
No, I don't think this was earnestly made this way. I think it's a joke. Yeah, but like I could have changed the theme to just people's dicks getting bit.
Oh, okay.
And done snakes on a plane as well.
I haven't seen snakes on a plane. So like, yeah, we could definitely do that.
I mean,
the problem is, do we have the third and are there multiple movies the listeners could pick from with that very specific theme?
Well, if we hadn't already done teeth, then yes, we would have a third.
Fair enough. Yeah. We've done teeth though. I guess we could do a revisit, but
I'm sure there are more. But like, I don't know how people feel about watching snakes on a plane. People either love it or hate it. I'm in the camp of love it like this movie.
Yeah, I bet there are people who love and hate this movie, right?
Yes, and that's 100% valid. If you came up to me and were like, I couldn't get through it, I get it. That's fine. I clapped at multiple points
during this movie. Paige, I need to know when you paused to applause during this movie, because that's insanity. There is nothing to pause at except for, I guess, the decapitated motorboat scene. Like, that's the most insane thing I've ever seen put on a film.
I absolutely clapped when that happened.
I was like, what is fucking happening?
And then later, when the fish walks on land and kills that kid.
Yeah.
And then when they put a Triton through the sheriff's, basically the end. I was having a great time.
Dude, the last 20 minutes of this movie are pretty fucking great. From like a campy, like B-movie horror sexploitation film. Like they're crazy, like on theme with that.
When I saw the special guest for the opening weekend of this water park and where like in their career they seem to be in this movie, I was losing my mind. Like, I was having so much fun.
Oh, you mean Hasselhoff? You mean the fact that Hasselhoff is in this movie?
Hasselhoff is in this movie playing himself.
After his meet and greet, they make him sit on a lifeguard stand, which seems wildly irresponsible for someone who's not a lifeguard. Because someone does come up with him needing something. We'll talk about it. And he's like, I'm not a lifeguard, never been one. Then why are you sitting on a lifeguard stand? Although I'll say this about his performance in this movie. Stellar. No notes. Hasselhoff is on like point the entire time.
Yes.
He's more or less playing himself. And I get why that dude is big in Germany.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
My favorite is that this movie multiple times uses the like crazy contra zoom that Baywatch used to use.
Yes.
And will like zoom like, oh my God, is he going to save that kid? And he'll just be like, nah. That kid's an idiot. And you're just like, oh my God, what?
Calls him a ginger moron like twice.
Little ginger moron.
Although the second time is after he gets killed while trying to get, and I don't know if you noticed this, Paige, he's getting video and it looks like what is now a cell phone, but it's actually not a cell phone he's using. They had back in the day, and I know this because
my dad was obsessed with them, yes.
I had 2, Paige. Because he's holding the second generation.
What were they called? It's like a brand.
It is a brand, and I honestly,
and they don't exist anymore.
They don't exist anymore, Paige, because cell phones now do video.
Yes, exactly.
It was like filling that market. But yeah, like I had two of them. I had the first generation, and I had this one.
Yeah,
but it's like one of those handheld cameras that from like those 2 years where those existed.
Yeah, my dad had this generation.
Yeah,
and for a second I was like, that's not a cell phone, and then like looked closer, and it was this. And the whole back of it is a screen, but the resolution is so terrible. And you couldn't put the video anywhere. Like you could upload it to a computer and then be like, I don't know what to do next. Like that was because it had like proprietary editing software and stuff that went with it. And then when that software was obsolete, you couldn't even use them anymore. I was laughing really hard.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, wow.
I mean, this was in the heyday of those, though. Like, so I understood, okay, this is just like the 3 years that company existed,
yes.
you know?
Well, and I want to say it was like Sling Video or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was like its own thing. Yeah.
I honestly may still have the box somewhere.
Oh, man, that's funny.
But I honestly thought Ving Rhames died in the first movie. I didn't realize he survived. And so when he came back and he overcomes his fear of the water to save more than one person from that splash pool or whatever, I cried, Paige. I cried. The emotional journey he goes on in his one scene.
To shoot piranhas with a leg shotgun.
Oh, Paige, yeah, we'll get there, but his new legs definitely pack a kick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when did you buy that leg shotgun? With all the money I saved on socks. Bro, what?
Also, Paige, didn't Paul Scheer ask when he bought the shotgun leg, not how he bought the shotgun leg?
Yes. It didn't make any sense.
The time at which you bought it was not that you saved money on socks. You're answering the question he wished you had asked, not the question he asked. Anyway, I have no notes for Ving Rhames and Paul Scheer in this movie. They are the best whenever they're on screen together.
So funny. Yeah, no, this is clearly a joke, and I love every second of it. I was having a good time. I'll point out to you when I knew we were going to get a fish on a dick, because I have it in my notes at the exact point that I realized it.
Paige, it's insane to me that they're having sex. I guess she like passes out because the piranha is swimming inside her.
Yeah.
And then it swims down to her vagina and bites his dick, I guess.
Okay, I'll talk about my headcanon of how this happens as we go, because we'll get to it.
Oh, no, she definitely got a piranha egg pushed up inside her when she was in the water skinny dipping. That's for sure what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that is when it happened. I don't know if it was an egg or if it was because there were baby piranhas in the water at that point. So I was thinking maybe it was a baby piranha swam up.
Gross.
Nature.
I mean, I don't know what to say to that. Like, that is also a possibility.
Yeah.
Because this movie was shot by a porn producer who was like, I don't know, put clothes on 3 of them. I don't know. Like, it's insane, babe.
And she's one of them. She's clothed this entire film.
She is one of them. It's the girl from 30 Rock. So I knew she wasn't going to, like, be one of the naked people because she, you know, she's like a known actress.
There's another horror movie that I love that was made by a porn producer, like notably, but it's an old black and white, and it's really hard to find streaming without the Mystery Science Theater 3000 track on it. But one of these days, if it is streaming widely and I can find it, I would love for us to watch The Brain That Didn't Die. Because it is another movie clearly made by a porn producer in the 60s where once you know that and you're watching the movie, you're like, oh yeah, this dude, that's the only movie he knows how to make. And so it like starts as a weird sci-fi horror and then just like hard pivots into 1960s lingerie modeling and then pivots back into science fiction. That's a wild movie.
It does sort of feel like that is the vibe of this, because we get like science scenes and then pornos or like softcore porn scenes, you know?
Right.
And it like goes back and forth, and then David Hasselhoff shows up, and then Paul Scheer and Ving Rhames show up, then it gets fun, and then the movie ends.
Right.
That's like it. Although I did think it was brave to cast someone as the like owner, sort of the villain, owner / stepdad of the main character, right? I thought it was so brave to cast someone who has never played that kind of creepy, gross, older guy who like is super obsessed with women. Sorry, the joke here is that guy only plays...
It's David Koechner, and that's what he always plays.
Yeah, that character. And he's so good at it. I'm not making fun of it. Like, bro, he nails it. He's so good at that role. I would hate if that was my type in Hollywood and I had to like, because listen, guys, for the money he gets paid to do it, I'd do it. I'm not saying he's wrong to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you hate it in your swimming pool with your kids' college paid for? I don't know if you would.
No, exactly. I would be like, I wasn't born a leading man, so I'm going to lean into what society thinks I look
That's
like.
What's up.
And that is...
That's what's up.
The terrible, like, breast-obsessed stepdad.
No. That's what he would lean into. You would play Barry who couldn't swim. That's the lane you would have to be.
I felt so seen at the end of this movie when the girl that he was obsessed with went from going, "Oh, I thought you were gay," to making out with him. And I was like, this has happened to me more than once. Because I like musicals, and I'll be like, hey, let's go check out a musical.
Yeah.
I literally had someone on our first date be like...
That you thought was a first date. That they were like, I went to see a musical with my gay friends.
You know what? That's a fair distinction. That's a very fair distinction, and we'll get there, because I fully thought it was a date. They did not.
No.
They were like, is anybody else coming? Nope.
Nope.
It's just the two of us on account of this date I asked you out on. I bought your ticket. What are we doing? Anyway, it didn't work out between her and me. But that was when she revealed, like, this is wicked. I didn't think you were into... cool. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
We actually did date for a little while after that, though. Like,
you're singing along, and I was confused.
You're singing along at only...
Elphabas parts?
Yeah. But Elphaba has all the good songs, though, guys.
Yeah, of course she does.
But maybe we should just go through this scene by scene.
Let's do it. First of all, this movie is not even 80 minutes because that accounts for credits. So this is going to go fast.
It is.
But it's going to be fun.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. There's already boobs because the first 15 to 20 seconds of this movie are them recapping the last movie where they're like, Lake Victoria, once a summer paradise with boobs, and now a barren lake with piranhas. And you're like, oh, that's right.
They pretty much turn Lake Victoria into the Salton Sea, trying to kill all the piranha.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're like, but can it happen again? And you're like, I'm betting it can.
Yeah, it probably can. It probably will, yeah.
So we cut to underwater in the caverns from the first one. And there's bubbles. And then we cut up to the surface and we get a chyron that says Cross Lake, Merkin County, Arizona.
That is what it says.
And that is not a real place.
Oh, really, Paige? Merkin County doesn't exist?
Oh, shit. Oh, no, not Marin County. Damn it, Google. I was verifying.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I know Marin County exists.
Right.
Okay, it is a fictional... Yeah, okay. The Merkin Sheriff Department covers the fictional Merkin County, Arizona. Yes, it is not a real county in Arizona.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But, like, that should tell you what we're dealing with here, where they're like, we have to name a county, and they're like, great. Name it after the wigs people wear for pubes. And you're like... Of course.
Why wouldn't we do that?
Why wouldn't we do that? But in Merkin County, in some sort of swamp, a swamp in Arizona, Todd.
Oh, Paige, this is not a good movie. I mean, they're actually going into like the water to retrieve, I guess, a dead cow?
Dead cow. They're looking for a cow that they ultimately find dead.
Oh, okay. So they weren't expecting to find it dead, I guess. Okay.
I think they were just looking for it, and then they find it, and it is dead.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But by the way, this is like Buddy Holly and his old friend. Like, it's like Gary Busey just walking around.
And Clu Gulager. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And they're like walking into the water that we were just told in the beginning of the movie was like, don't even get in it. It's poisonous because we were trying to kill all the piranha.
This is a different lake. This is Cross Lake.
Then why are the piranha there? And why is the cow dead? I guess the piranha ate it?
Later on, Christopher Lloyd explains that.
I fucking love that I'm making you actually explain what happened in this stupid bonkers ass movie. Like, that's hilarious to me. But explain it, please, because I have no idea what's going on. Except that this cold open has way too many dead cow farts than I was comfortable with.
It was a lot of dead cow farts. According to Christopher Lloyd's assertions later in the film.
According to Doc.
Yeah, there's a whole underground series of caverns and lakes and like waterways that are allowing the piranha to travel from lake to lake to lake.
Right.
So there is a potential for them to be in any connected lake in this series of waterways. Now that will impact pools and things later on in a way that I will explain when we get there. We're not quite there yet.
Right.
But that means that this small portion of Cross Lake, which is the lake that the water park feeds and pumps out into, had eggs in it where they had like laid eggs. And I think the cow was eating the eggs because as it farts, it like comes out of the cow's butt.
I mean, that does happen. I don't know why the cow is still farting, but whatever. It's like shitting piranha eggs.
I mean, the cow had a refined palate and wanted some fish eggs.
Yeah, some piranha caviar.
Some piranha caviar. But it's a dead cow, and when things are dead, they expel gases, which is, as they're like, oh, it's the cow. It's, and he says that gas is so bad, it would put something off a gut truck, vultures off a gut truck, where it's like, it smells so terrible. So he goes to light one of the farts.
Yeah.
And the dead cow explodes, which makes all the eggs hatch, and they get attacked by tiny piranhas.
When the cow explodes, old buddy Holly is like, holy flying baby shit, which made me laugh. Seeing Gary Busey cuss crazily is very funny.
Yeah. And so Gary Busey comes back up because we of course immediately think these guys are dead because there's so many piranhas.
Yeah.
But he stands up in the water and he's got multiple piranhas sticking out of his face, pulls one out, bites the head off and screams into the sky as the head 3D falls towards the screen. Because remember, this was in 3D in the theaters. This was a 3D movie. It will never let you forget that.
No.
The head goes spinning towards the camera. End cold open. Piranha 3 Double D is about to begin.
Yes.
We then cut to naked water slides as they're filming a commercial for a water park called The Big Wet. The Big Wet. And David Koechner, of course, is basically touting all the new things for this water park, including an adult-only pool, hot lifeguards, because he has essentially hired strippers who are water certified to be lifeguards.
Which, what does it take to be water certified as a stripper? I don't think it requires CPR training.
I think it's the same as anything else, but we don't see any of them doing lifeguard stuff.
We see one of them not doing it when they're supposed to be, though. I don't think they're lifeguard certified is my point. I think they are water certified by him.
Yeah.
In a private, maybe one-on-one water certification program he runs with the strippers in this, I'm assuming, Tallahassee area.
Maybe. Now, I will say this was a Law and Order plot one time, potentially right after this movie came out.
Piranha attacked a swimming park?
No.
Okay.
No, a person died because a lifeguard did not go after them. And then it was revealed that the lifeguards were being hired for looks, not for being certified.
Oh my God. Never let David Koechner run your swimming pool, guys. That's what I've learned. That's all I learned.
I do love that at the end of the commercial, he's like, remember, Double D swims for free. And I'm like, oh shit. I could swim for free. Let's go. Finally, these things start paying off. But the commercial ends because who has showed up? His stepdaughter home from college. And she's like, hey, stepdad named Chet, which is how we know he's a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, we also know he's a bad guy because her mom's dead and he's a little too familiar with his stepdaughter who's been away at college, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's real creepy.
Yeah.
It is.
He immediately puts out, I'm a bad dude vibes because you don't cast this guy if you're not going to do that with your character, apparently. I would love to see this guy play a straight up sweet ass father of two, married, loves his wife, very committed, loves his family. You never see him in those kind of roles.
Never. But in this one, similarly not.
In this one, he probably killed his wife to gain access to 51% of the pool so he could open up his own pool-themed strip club.
The only reason I'm not going to immediately say yes to that is because we don't know how long she has been passed away, and I think it might be longer than just the year his stepdaughter was away.
No idea.
No idea. Anyway, the first thing she says is like, hey, Dad, did you fire all the lifeguards and hire topless people? And he's like, yeah. And he introduces her to the idea of the adult pool, which again, $1 million idea.
In like a Vegas. Like in Vegas,
Yeah.
it would be. I don't know that it would be in Maricopa, Merkin County, Arizona, you know, but like.
Sure. But dude, if you made an all adults water park, I mean, you'd have to clean condoms out of the filter every day, but like, and he even covers that. He's like, we just put extra chlorine in. But it's basically a strip club in a pool that has like a swim up bar.
Yeah.
With just margaritas and whatever. And so it's like your guests can all be topless, but then all of the lifeguards are strippers and also topless. At which point they panned across the lifeguards because the water park's not open yet, that are just kind of chilling on their break in the pool, topless. And one of them is a girl I know.
What, Paige?
I was like, oh.
You're like, I recognize those boobies.
Yeah, okay, Todd. I don't know her extremely well. It's acquaintance level at best.
Yeah, sure. You know, you've been to a few of her performances. I get it. Yeah.
As a comedian, yes. She is now a comedian.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, she is now a comedian. At the time that this movie came out, she was a Playboy Playmate.
What? Okay.
Or had been. But she was previously a Playboy Playmate. Now she is a comedian. And so I was like, Irina? Like, what? And then, so I was like, that's really funny that she was in. And then later, she gets killed.
Yeah.
Like, you see her get killed. And I was like, oh, she got killed by a piranha. And I was like, the next time I see her, I'm going to have to go shout in her direction about Piranha 3 Double D.
Should have had her on, Paige. We should have had her on.
I unfortunately don't know her well enough and did not know she was in this. But yeah, I was screaming. I was like, oh my God, what are the odds that I know someone in this weird, gory porno?
That is the best way to describe it. It's a weird, gory porno.
Anyway, he does also introduce the one feature that I don't think would be good for this adults only pool, which is the cooch cam, which is basically a camera set on the like rails, like the ladder to get in and out of the pool. Because if people are swimming naked, then as they get in and out of the pool, you would have a direct shot of their genitals.
Yes.
And so then I was like, I don't think anyone wants this. And he's like, people are going to love it. I'm like, okay, but that camera comes in handy later.
It does. Yeah, that camera is.
Yeah.
That is like, and it's a famous phrase, so I'm sure everyone knows it, but it's the famous Chekhov's cooch cam.
Yeah, Chekhov's cooch cam.
Which is if you set it up, you're definitely going to see a fish biting a lady's head off through it later. So like, yeah.
Yeah, of course. But this is also where we find out that Maddie, the daughter, is the minority owner of the water park, which means that she's the only one left to sue at the end of this movie.
That actually is 1,000% true.
Oopsie daisies.
Yeah. It would have been better for her if she didn't own any of it because then it probably would have been passed down to her, but then she could have been like, I had nothing to do with any of this.
Right.
She actually does sort of have a fiduciary responsibility to the public to like not do this kind of shit. And she like does a pretty bad job trying to figure out what her evil stepdad, I'm not saying it's her fault, is up to. Like, but she would get sued.
I think, first of all, thankfully, because of the other people who have died by the end of this movie, she would potentially have proof that her father was, her stepfather was bribing law enforcement and she didn't know. And like, if she proved that, I think she'd probably be okay. But like, you know, because she was gone for most of the year or whatever. Anyway, we cut to what seems to be like a party before the park opens amongst the staff. Everyone's hanging out. It's all of these like teenagers home from college, like 18 to 19, maybe 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Who all know each other, have known each other for years. and they're all kind of reconnecting. This is where we find out that she has previously been dating the guy who's now the Merkin County Sheriff, and that her friend, Suri from 30 Rock, is hoping to have sex for the first time that night. It will not happen, but it will happen later. And ooh boy. But the reason that they give for her not wanting to have sex is crazy. Because she's scared because her cousin did it and then had a flipper baby is all that they say, which is horrible to say.
Paige, that is foreshadowing because Suri from 30 Rock does have a flipper baby. Like,
kinda, yeah.
No, I mean, that is her child. When she steps on her baby and to make sure it's dead, and of course, his dick shoots across the room, like, that is her child she's treating that way.
Yeah. Irresponsible parent.
It legit is, but that line, as bonkers and offensive as it is, is technically foreshadowing, guys.
True. For what happens to everyone.
I know.
And apparently everyone in her family. We also meet Ashley, who is their friend that we don't learn a lot about because she's the first kill.
Yeah. She dies real quick, guys.
Yeah. We also establish the situation between Barry and the sheriff, where Barry and Maddie are clearly very close friends.
Yeah.
And he clearly has feelings for her. And the sheriff is just like, shut up, nerd. Yeah, no notes. But they all kind of are partying with sparklers. Ashley and her boyfriend, I don't even remember his name. Doesn't matter. He's going to die in a minute. They go off to have fun in his van. And Suri from 30 Rock and Josh go to meet at the lake. And everyone kind of disperses.
Yeah.
So at the lake, they decide to skinny dip. So they take their clothes off, they jump in the water, and it's getting sexy, but then she feels the piranha and thinks it's him.
Yeah.
And this is where because she says, ow, don't do that. I don't like it. And he's far enough away from her that you know it's not him doing it.
Yeah, I don't even think he could like reach any part of her. Like they were probably a good 4 feet apart, and your arm's not like super that long. Yeah.
But the implication being he's touching her in one of her private lake areas.
A private lake area? Nice. Okay.
A private lake area.
Yeah.
And I was like, I bet a piranha's gonna swim up there. Like, I just immediately...
Paige, I think, oh my God, I truly hate that I'm saying this. I think it's an egg because we see her struggle with some morning sickness at one point. And then while having sex, it comes out of her.
Okay. So I'll accept egg.
I think it's an egg.
I just don't know how the egg got up in there.
They don't show us that, thankfully. I don't know. But it's like, I hate it. I hate it so much, but it's also hilarious on some level. So like, there are things that are fun about it.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you talk about the morning sickness and everything, that makes sense. But when we get to the morning sickness, we'll talk about it. Because that was when I was like, it's going to be in her area and it's going to bite a dick off. Like, I just knew.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to the van where Ashley makes her boyfriend pray before they have sex. And it's clearly not their first time, but she's just like, look, if we ask for forgiveness now for something that we're going to need forgiveness for later. And I was like, I don't think this is how that works. But she's like, amen. And then claps furry handcuffs onto this guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, Ashley is a ball of fun. Like, this is wild.
I mean, she has an understanding of the Christian religion that I think is better than most, typically. So, like, I'm here for it. At least she is trying to pray for something that she thinks is a sin. Like, that's cool. You're just doing it beforehand, but that's fine.
Preemptively.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I didn't know you could bank prayers like that, but...
As far my understanding is you can't. But, you know... If you could, then I feel like people would do a lot more stuff because they could just like, hold on, I got to bank these for the murder and then like go on, whatever. But anyway, as she's handcuffing him, she hits the emergency brake and the van rolls down into the lake.
She murders her boyfriend. Yes, what we're hearing is this lady murdering her boyfriend. I'm not even sure it wasn't premeditated, Paige. She handcuffs him to the table and then immediately runs the car into the lake.
But here's my crazy thing about this in this movie that I was like screaming is, first of all, they have so much time to just pull the e-brake again.
Oh, yeah. They literally have 15 or 30 seconds to like stop it, to stop the car, right? And they don't.
Yeah.
They're just like,
They don't.
Hey, I think we're moving. What? I think we're moving. How could we be moving? No, I think we're moving. Guys, we should do something. We're moving. Smash into the water. Like, stop saying you're moving and do something.
Instead of going for the e-brake, they're looking for the handcuff key. And I was like, stop the car first.
Yes.
Like,
why are you not stopping the... Well, and also, like... That's a table that's barely bolted in to a car that's 40 years old. They really should have just started kicking the table and it would have come out.
Yeah.
You could have taken the whole fucking table out with you if you had to, but you probably could have broken it off and slid the handcuff off the bottom, right?
Right.
All I'm saying is these two people are dead because they wanted to have kinky sex and they're idiots. Like that.
Right.
They can't be the first to go out under those circumstances. But if you want to hear more stories about the people that have died under those circumstances, check out my new podcast. Sorry.
Or watch that one episode of Mythbusters.
Just like a true crime podcast that's dedicated to people who died during sexual intercourse. To me, it's funny.
I would listen to that.
I know.
would listen
I would definitely
that.
listen to it. Listen to my new podcast, Coming While Going, on Spotify.
There was a TV show like that, but it was people who had survived, where it was like Sex Put Me in the Hospital or whatever it was called.
In 2016, I was in the line for Hall H at Comic-Con, and I had a guy come up to me and my girlfriend at the time and asked me if I wanted to be on the show. Sex sent me to the ER.
That's what it was.
And I was like, but that's never happened to me. And he was like, it's fine. We'll just give you to a story. And I was like, okay, but no, I'm good. I don't want to be on a TV show talking about how like my girlfriend at the time broke my dick or whatever. Like, I'm good.
It's almost always somebody breaking their dick or leaving a cock ring on too long. And I know a handful of people who've been on Sex Put Me in the ER, and all of them were just given stories.
Yeah.
Like it didn't actually happen to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, she climbs out of the van and she's like, I'm going to get help, and like leaves him to die. But once she gets out onto the van on the top, they're like far out into the water.
Yes.
I was like, these people would be at the edge of the lake at best. Like, what is happening? But they've like floated out into the water. She kind of turns back because she hears him screaming. He is dead. He's like trying to dislocate his wrist to get out of the handcuffs, but he is just dead.
Well, and they're biting his hand because his hand's underwater, right?
Right.
And she's like screaming, banging on the back window, and his arm, now a stump, flies through the window because, again, this
3D.
is in 3D. And then, of course, I mean, honestly, they both die because he's already on his way out at that point. But then the whole thing sinks and she dies.
And she's too far out to swim. Yeah, she dies. We cut back to the skinny dipping, and they decide to get out of the water.
Yeah.
Unscathed for the most part.
Well, I mean, unscathed, but forever changed, you know.
Forever unclean, yes.
No, forever changed. I mean, she is pregnant at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure it's not the first time a lady has suggested that she go skinny dipping with this guy she's into, and she has come back from that evening pregnant. I'm sure it's not the first time. It's like an age-old story. Like, it happens all the time.
Tale as old as time.
It's not always a fish, but like sometimes, I mean, I don't know.
Sometimes something gets gushed up in there. That's why you shouldn't swim in lakes.
I fully agree. You got to watch where you're gushing, guys.
There's like moss and bugs and just stuff could gush. Anyway.
Sex in a lake sounds like a great way to get.
No, thank you. I feel like you're going to get giardia or something.
I know. Like you're going to die a way that people haven't died for in thousands of years.
Like, they're like, how'd you get trench foot in your pussy? It's like, well, the lake. Anyway, we cut to the next day where they're like cleaning up the water park because they've got one more day till they open.
Yeah.
And I do love that there's just a montage of like park chores, beach balls, and boobs. And at one point a beach ball just like bounces off a boob. And I was like, if that's not the thesis statement for this movie, then I don't know what is.
No, it is. Like that, I think that was the whole pitch for the movie, was that right there.
Like, just the pitch deck was just a beach ball hitting a boob.
Yeah.
And then then they just have like, as a PowerPoint deck, killer fish. Like, that's it. Just one slide. Killer fish equals dollars.
I can tell you how much this cost to make right now. It was $5 million. And Paige, I think it's on the screen.
People have spent worse stuff on $5 million.
I was a little surprised because of when it came out and like the level of CGI, which is not great, mind you, but when it came out, it's not bad.
And there's people in it. Like there's a fair amount of known people in this movie.
I was pretty surprised when it was $5 million. I was like, damn, they made this for cheap. Good for them.
I think everyone who's in it is just like, hell yeah.
I know.
I'll do this as a favor. Give me one of the fish puppets. Like,
as long as I get to keep one of the rubber piranha that was just hanging around in these scenes, I'm in.
Yeah, give me a per diem and a fish. Anyway, this is also where they introduce that there's a hole where water pumps out and one of the park employees is violating it.
Paige, he's fully having sex with that hole, yes. He even shouts at one point, "It's so wet," which is like hilarious because he's chest deep in water.
He angles back so it's like squirting up as if it were a porno.
Yeah, because Paige, I'm not sure it's not.
He's doing the thing with his hand where it like sprinklers. I was like, bro.
He knows what he's doing, Paige.
This is at work. This is at work. I do love the revenge he gets later. But this is where they're like, hey, nobody's seen Ashley and Travis. They didn't show up this morning. And then Suri from 30 Rock barfs. And I was like, she got a fish in her.
Yeah, she's like, definitely fish pregnant.
She's fully fished up. Just full of it. And so she goes with Josh, I think is the guy that she likes. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take you to go like sit down or whatever so you feel better. Even after the other guy jumps in the barf, which is really gross.
Like he jumps high into the air and then double feet lands in barf and he's wearing sandals. Like, guys, I don't think I am the most cleanly person at all. That shit's gross to me.
I would never.
I was like, ugh.
I know.
Yo, that's vomit, dog. Get the sawdust. What are we doing?
Yeah, get the kitty litter.
Yeah.
But they do pull the van out of the lake. And inside there's like fur, beanbags, and nothing else. And the sheriff's like, I'm sure they're just at home. And these handcuffs aren't an indication of any foul play.
I mean, they are furry handcuffs. You might just assume they were having a sweet night of amore. They went home and left the van here, I guess. I don't know why you do that. But there's no bodies because I guess the fish ate all of the bodies and then left.
But we cut out to the dock where Suri, I forget what her actual name was in this movie, like her character name was. I don't think it was Suri, but that's who she was in my mind. She's on the dock and Maddie comes out and she's like, I'm just really sad. Like, and what she says is, quote, I know she's kind of a slut. She stole 11 of my ex-boyfriends, and I think this one pair of earrings my grandma gave me, but she was my best friend.
Yes. It is like, this person is the villain in your life. Like, you have a personal grudge to murder this person if they've done all those things to you.
Right.
And she's like, she's my best friend.
She's my best friend. I'm so sad. And as they're kind of dangling their feet, a piranha jumps up at them and they're like, oh shit, it's a fucking piranha.
Yeah.
And there's this whole scene of them trying to run across the dock and the piranha's jumping up through the wood that goes on way too long.
Yeah.
But they both make it to the beach where a piranha jumps out of the water and is like flopping on the beach and they kill it with a rock, immaculate style.
They do, actually. Cerie's character, whose name is actually Shelby in this movie.
Shelby.
Yeah. She comes over and smashes it with the rock. And then me in the movie, Barry, runs over and is like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. And everyone's like, it's a piranha. We've got to drive to that guy who was at Victoria Lake. And so they pull up his like YouTube videos and they take the cop car and make Barry sit in the back. So he's like in the back in the caged area and the sheriff fully knows that Barry has the hots for Maddie, but he's still like feeling her up in the front seat while he's caged in the back. I was like, this is cruel, but hilarious.
I mean, it's a metaphor. It's just like Barry's the friend zone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and truly, she thinks he's gay.
Yeah.
We learn in this movie. So, like, he has definitely not made his, like, feelings for her clear, right?
Right.
So, I didn't see any problem with her being very handsy and very flirtatious with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because, like, she doesn't even know he's an option.
Yeah.
Anyway, but, like, I don't know. I thought it was funny that he just had to sit back there and watch.
I was laughing the whole time.
Because it's clear we know that he's a dirtbag.
The sheriff's a dirtbag, yes.
Yeah, the sheriff's a dirtbag. And we also know that, like, Barry is into the main character, you know? So it's, I don't know, it's funny.
Yes. But they drive out to Victoria Lake where they encounter in like the lake office or whatever, Christopher Lloyd, who is just counting the hits he has on YouTube. And he's like, take that laughing diarrhea, baby. And we're like, I don't even know what that is.
I don't know either, but I did love that he was obsessed with his view counts.
Obsessed.
I thought that shit was funny.
So funny.
But they're higher than you would actually have them and still care about it.
Right.
Because he's like in the millions. Like if you're getting millions of views, you're not like really focused on getting 150 more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I thought it was weird that he was like, oh yeah, now we're up to whatever. I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, okay.
Like 11,888.
Yeah.
But we find out that after the Victoria Lake incident, he wrote a book about how he thinks that the fish are going to evolve and walk.
Yeah.
And everyone thought he was crazy. But Barry read the book, and so did Maddie, because we will find out that Maddie was in college for marine biology.
I forgot that fun fact right there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That is true, though. I remember it now, but I had forgotten because it literally doesn't matter. But okay.
Doesn't matter. But this is where he does the demonstration with a piece of steel.
Yeah.
And Barry saves the frog because Barry's a sweet boy.
Well, because like he does have one of the piranhas in a tank, right?
Right.
And so he puts a piece of steel in there. Guys, it's going to get crazy. He puts a piece of steel in there and a frog on the other side of it. And we're looking at this glass aquarium. So we see the steel, we see the frog, we see the fish, we see the piranha like ramming it and like it's making dents in the steel.
Yeah.
And I just had to ask, how hard is that fucking glass that we're looking at all this through that it wouldn't shatter the glass? Like, it was insane to me that they're like, look at how much damage it can do to steel through this glass. I was like, this is ridiculous, but I'm here for it.
I do feel like, because we watched the piranha ram the glass and make no dent, and I think it must be like bulletproof glass or something.
It's gotta be bulletproof glass, yeah.
Anyway, but so Barry saves the frog, but they now have his book. They know it is piranhas. They've got the dead piranha from earlier. So they're like, okay, we have to go check the vents and the drains where the park drains out.
Yeah.
And this is because what Maddie doesn't know, and we're about to find out, is that the park has drilled their own well. So they're not actually draining out through these drains. That's why the drains are fine.
Yeah.
Because the chemicals they use to chlorinate water attract the piranha, we have found. So if they were draining out, that's where the piranhas would come through.
Yeah, that's what Doc told us in that scene with him, more or less. Like the chemicals byproduct are something that like attracts the piranha.
Right. We do get a shot of Ashley's dead piranha body in the lake, and the handcuff key 3D floats up. But we cut to Shelby and Josh, and she's staying with him at his, I guess, place. It seems like a lot of them live in or around the water park.
Yeah. I mean, I assume they did. They all sort of work there or in that town. So, yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, hey, I'm not feeling good, but I want to have sex with you. And like, I don't want to die a virgin. And so please do this for me. It's a crazy scene.
I thought this scene was so uncomfortable. Like, I don't think I'd be able to have sex under those circumstances because she is like crying and she thinks she's dying.
Right.
And she's like, please fuck me. I'd be like, I don't think that's what you need. I think what you need is like medical attention.
I think we should go to a doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, if you think you're about to die, I'm definitely not going to put my DNA anywhere close to you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, Maddie swims over to the outflow pipes. And this is where we find out that Barry can't swim. So she has to go in alone.
Right.
And with a flashlight at night. There's no way she could see anything.
I mean, no.
You're a diver. You couldn't see anything.
At all.
Yeah.
But this is just so that, like, she gets put into the damsel in distress mode.
Right.
And then her boyfriend, the sheriff, has to save her because Barry can't swim and go in and get her, right?
Right.
It's just a way to emasculate Barry, which, as Barry in this movie, that happened to me a lot in these types of situations, so I get it.
Well, and the sheriff like kisses her on the shore, but she does get bit on the leg, and that will come back a little bit later.
I mean, he does save her. I mean, the sheriff does like run into the water, which I do think is probably the worst way to try and save someone in this circumstance because that, in and of itself, you going into the water and like meeting them there
attracts the piranhas.
Well, no, I mean, it probably would do that too, but also your inertia would push her, it would slow her down. right? So like the best thing to do is get as close to them as possible and then yank them out of the water when they get to you, right? Because you don't want to slow them down at all.
Yeah.
But whatever. They get out, she gets bit, and he is like very sexually laying on top of her and they kiss
Hot.
in front of Barry.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say in this circumstance, Paige, if he saved you like that, I could see you kissing him once as a thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, but it's literally as far as you can go without him turning up and going like, "You like that, Barry?" Like
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous.
Honestly, Barry's on a love seat in the corner just watching and loving it.
He's in the closet with a camera.
It is like, this is straight up a porn scene. Now that I'm like thinking through that, like Barry is getting cocked in this moment. And Barry's not into it, guys. He gets his revenge.
Yeah.
But I will say this. The sheriff went in there and saved her. Was sort of heroic. At the end of this movie, he does something that is the complete opposite of this. So like...
I think he didn't believe there were piranha. And then once he knows there are, he's like, I ain't doing that shit.
Sure. Okay. Maybe that's it. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's probably it.
Yeah. That's fair.
Everyone has moments in life they can't just stop thinking about. They can be embarrassing things, like that one time you face planted in front of a group of teenagers, or something amazing like the first time you hosted your family for the holidays. And on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, hosted by me, Keke Palmer, and presented by BMW, we know to savor the good memories and let go of the bad. And one thing everyone remembers fondly is their first time behind the wheel of a BMW. So come join me and BMW this summer as we explore pop culture moments and topics you just can't stop thinking about on Baby, This is Keke Palmer. Sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
If you're a new parent, a bad day means you either ran out of coffee, diapers, patience, or all of the above. Stocking up on cold brew and deep breaths are all you. Hello Bello's got your baby's butt covered. Because Hello Bello believes all families deserve premium, affordable baby products. With their ultra-convenient diaper bundle subscription service that includes 7 packs of diapers and 4 packs of plant-based wipes, you'll never run out of supplies. Better yet, they're delivered to your door. Set, change, and cancel your delivery schedule whenever you want. If you're a parent, your to-do list is longer than all your baby's wake windows combined. Let Hello Bello take care of diaper runs until you're done potty training. It was named Best Diaper Subscription by New York Magazine and winner of the 2022 Good Housekeeping Parenting Award for a reason. Go to hellobello.com/Wondery to get 30% off your first customized bundle and a full-size freebie product of your choice. That's hellobello.com/Wondery to start bundling with 30% off your first order. Don't forget, that's hellobello.com/Wondery.
Anyway, we cut to Shelby and Josh having sex, and they are mid-coitus. And she is like, oh no, I think there's something swimming around inside me. And he doesn't listen. And he's like, oh, I'm almost there. And then, oh no, there's a fish in her pussy.
It literally is, it bites him.
Yeah.
It like teeth bites him. And he pulls his dick out.
And she has like a seizure, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's just given birth, Paige. It's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
So he pulls the piranha out of her birth canal, I suppose. I don't know what the proper terminology is to use in this situation, but please know I'm trying to be as respectful as possible.
I don't think this can happen.
Paige, are you saying that this movie has things in it that can't happen? I'm sorry, what? Is that allowed?
He pulls back and the fish is like on his dick, and then he takes, here's what I didn't get. Because he takes a knife in the kitchen and cuts his own dick off instead of like stabbing the fish.
Well, I mean, your dick is deep in that fish's throat. I'm talking at least 7 or 8 inches. So like,
I think that's being generous.
How far back do you have to cut? Do I have to, okay, so if there's a piranha on my dick, do I have to then from memory remember exactly how big my dick is under these specific circumstances and then carve around where I think my dick is?
I would imagine it has shortened up because of the pain.
Paige.
I mean, I guess it depends on the person.
This is I was going to say this is a big ask, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's not that big of an ask, but I wouldn't cut my own dick off, though. But it is concerning that the piranha can't bite through it. I did not understand why the piranha was just like...
I'm telling you, it was savoring it.
It literally was like pacifying the dick. I don't know of another way to say it. There's not a less like pornographic term to use.
Savoring.
It does seem like the fish is not not into it, though.
Yeah, I think the fish was into it, but he cuts his own dick off, which is fucked up. She wakes up, and I thought she was full dead. I thought she was chest burstered. Like,
she was vagina burstered. I don't know why she would, but yeah, she's still alive.
She's still alive. Well, and I don't know how much bursting. I mean, the fish is big, but like the elasticity of the human vaginal canal is, notable. So like maybe she's fine. I don't know. But like she wakes up seemingly okay, but there is blood everywhere. And she's like, I think I had an accident. And she goes looking for him. She steps on the fish. It coughs up the dick tip. And then he pops up with a knife and he's like, what the hell did you do to me? And you're like, oh my God, he's going to kill her. He doesn't, though. Do you think they reattach it?
Paige, there was a news story about someone named John Bobbitt, and they did reattach it. So I think
and he went on to do pornos. So
yes, I was gonna bring that up, and perhaps the director of this has worked with him in the past, and that's what made him think to do this. But like, I do think I would want to have it reattached, wouldn't you?
I mean, yes, but okay. I watched a terrible show on Netflix one time. 2 seasons of it, unfortunately. Never get that time back.
This thing you did voluntarily to yourself.
But the show is called Sex Life.
Oh, yeah, you told me about Sex Life and how it was bad and I shouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
And then I guess you went on and continued to watch it without me. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. At the end of the 2nd season, a character, they're having an oral sexual encounter while driving a car.
They're doing some oralingus while behind the wheel.
Oralingus while behind the wheel, and then they get in a head-on collision. And
oh my God. Okay.
And something notable in Sex Life, this ridiculous show, is they have used prosthetics in the 1st season and a couple other places to enlarge the members of actors on screen.
Sure.
And so after the head-on collision plot line, it's revealed that the woman who was filleting this man bit down during the accident.
I hate this. I hate everything about this.
And he had to have surgery. And it's revealed later that he got surgery and like made it bigger. And then if you like squeeze the balls, it can get instant hard. And it's like a weird prosthetic. And it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen on television. But it seems applicable here.
I mean, I definitely understand why you brought it up. Yeah. It sounds like this character is going to have some options when it comes back to dick reattaching surgery.
Look, if you listen to My Dad Wrote a Porno, you know that he could also potentially have blue ejaculate cutting across somebody's dreams or whatever that line is in it. So yeah, apparently there's lots of options.
Oh my God. Mine's got a laser sight.
Good old Jim Sterling.
Belinda Billings.
Anyway, we hope for the best and we'll sign his card at the hospital. So
yes,
we cut to Chet, the stepdad, gets pulled over by the sheriff, who ostensibly was with the other two. So like, this is one of those things where like screenwriting wise, it doesn't work based on where everyone is in the story, but they had to get this point across and didn't do it earlier. So they just insert this scene here where he basically is collecting bribe money. And we find out that they've drilled an additional well, which is why the outflow vents were fine.
Yeah.
Because it's actually another well.
Yeah.
And he's hiding it. We cut to Maddie and Barry are back at the dorms or whatever at this water park. And she's like, yeah, I don't think Kyle and I are getting back together. Kyle's the sheriff. And as they're standing there, Shelby walks up and just says, Josh cut off his penis because something came out of my vagina. And she is covered in blood. And they're like, oh my God. They take him to the hospital. He's sedated. They don't know what's happening, but they're now being taken care of by medical professionals. And that's what's important. Maddie goes to take a bath and she's got a bite on her leg. And it seems like one comes out of the faucet, then one more, then another one. But it's a dream.
It was scary though, man. Like there's no more vulnerable position than she's in. So like, that was scary.
As Shelby knows.
Yeah. And we know because we've seen what happens 2.5 days after you get impregnated with the baby's piranha.
There you go. Anyway, we cut to a motel where David Hasselhoff is playing the keyboard. It reverses and we find out he's singing to a lady and he's like, thanks, Dawn. And she's like, I'm Rochelle. And then another girl pops up and goes, I'm Dawn.
Yeah. I don't know if you realize this, Paige. The song he's singing is like Love Hunter or something like that.
Yes.
But it is the tune that they use for the fake trailer
Fish
at
Hunter
the end for
later.
his new show. Yeah. So I thought that was very funny.
That was so good.
But at this point, I was like, I literally wrote in my notes, is David Hasselhoff just playing himself? And he is.
He is.
I mean, at one point, he is wearing like the exact same outfit from Baywatch, and he even has like the ocean floaty thing that he would carry with him to throw in the water, like it's like a buoy or whatever.
Yes.
I thought that shit was so funny. The only difference is, and you see it in one scene, there's a on the patch on his sleeve, it doesn't say Baywatch, it says Hoffwatch, and I'm sure it's because they couldn't use Baywatch. It says Hoffwatch Lifeguard.
I'm sure he has that custom and just wears it.
Oh man, it's so funny. When he starts giving that kid his like IMDb best known for page, I was like, I love this.
I love that he put SpongeBob in there. That's a great Hasselhoff moment. But we cut to this water park and it's opening day montage. It's just a montage of titties and then one close-up shot of a woman's bikini line with a tiny tattoo that says fine dining. I was like, oof, this movie.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
It's a great seafood restaurant, as we've seen in this film. Fresh fish.
It's always fresh.
Always fresh.
Always fish.
Plus caviar. Anyway, Hasselhoff shows up in a suit and then just says, welcome to rock bottom. This is where we reveal that Paul Scheer is there with Ving Rhames.
It's opening day, baby. Let's go.
Opening day.
Yeah.
And it cuts to we get a shot from the last movie, and I had forgotten that Ving Rhames takes a propeller engine off a boat and just like mows through piranhas while they eat his legs to save a bunch of people. And he's like, I don't know if I could do this. And Paul Scheer is like, baby steps, man, baby steps. He's like, I can't take no baby steps. Fish ate my damn legs. And I scream laugh.
And as it's saying that, it's like panning out and revealing that he has no legs. Like it is.
No legs.
God, it's insane. It's insane, guys. It's truly insane.
It's like Chubbs from Happy Gilmore, but legs.
Yes.
Anyway, they have this whole moment of like, I can handle little like punk ass water. Dump me in the water. Don't dump me in the water. Don't dump me in the water.
Remember when I said they really stretch out some scenes? They do this for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it literally is just him and Paul Scheer like being silly together. And I do like
Just
it.
yes-anding.
Because I like both of them and they're both doing a great job yes-anding, Paige. Exactly. So like, I love that. It's great. But like, you can tell there's not much story in this movie.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
But we cut over to Hasselhoff doing basically his intro and his meet and greet where they're like, if you're lucky, you might get a little mouth to mouth. And he's like, oh, let's get wild. How you ladies doing? And it like, he's all over. It's madness.
Bro, he's full hoffing it out. He's like, oh my God. I don't know if you noticed this, but he like goes to kiss an older lady and like fakes her out and he's like, I'm not gonna kiss you, it's gross. And then he like a younger lady goes to kiss his cheek and then he turns and so they kiss on the lips
and gets her mouth.
and it's just like so gross and like such like that is David Hasselhoff. I'm sure that's David Hasselhoff. I've never met David Hasselhoff, but that's the David Hasselhoff I think I would be if I ever met David Hasselhoff.
Yes.
Yeah. Which like, I don't know. He might be honestly like a great dude. I have no idea, but that's like his public image.
Yes.
And he is fully playing into that. And that's why I was like, I think he's doing a great job.
At least playing a heightened version of himself.
Yes.
Kind of like Zac Efron the other week on Romancing the Pod.
Yes, absolutely. But like, I do love that he can lean into like the comedy of where he is in his life. He's no longer the biggest TV star ever. He's aging. Cause like that one time when he's like, they do the Baywatch run.
Yes.
And he like runs to like go save somebody and he like stops and he like goes, oh God, because he's like trying to catch his breath. And he's like, God, I'm getting old. Like that shit actually is very funny. Like it's rare that you can see someone not take themselves that seriously. And it's like, honestly, it's so great to see. Like I really enjoyed those moments.
I did too. But this is where Maddie then finds, while everyone's distracted by Hasselhoff, she finds the drill for the well and she's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And confronts Chet about it. He's like, no, we found this cool underwater lake. And she's just like, oh no, oh my God,
no idea what you've done.
And he's like, you read too much science. Just read a romance novel. There's no piranhas. And she's just like, there's definitely a piranha.
Okay, so that line you literally just name checked right there. That line. after he says that, you should read more romance novels. I was like, I'm 100% sure I've heard Paige give people this advice. Like, and now I'm supposed to think that this guy's a villain? I love Paige. I think he's just giving her good advice, Paige. I've heard you give that advice 1,000 times.
I'm saying get into it. It's the fastest growing genre of books.
Yeah. Porn for ladies be selling in these streets, guys.
Good.
I'm happy about it. Get ideas.
Yeah. So a fish has made its way into the splash pool, the little kid pool.
Yes.
And a kid gets bit. And this kid is named David, and he will come back a couple times.
Yeah, he will.
But the mom is like, it was not a piranha. Like, go get a Band-Aid. And so he goes to David Hasselhoff.
She literally says, like, you've heard piranha too much on the news. Like, it's not a piranha. Go get a Band-Aid from a lifeguard.
Yeah, because, well, he also says it's a Perini or Panini or whatever, because he doesn't remember piranha.
But he says it wrong like 4 times, and I was like, is he saying like the scientific name? Does he know more than me? Because he's saying it with a lot of confidence. This like 8-year-old child.
I think he's just a child. But David Hasselhoff is obviously not a real lifeguard, and so he gives him a headshot.
No, but he is standing in a lifeguard stand, and this 8-year-old doesn't know him when he was famous.
Right.
So like... I thought it was very funny.
It was very funny. But then as another woman comes up to like ask him something, like ask him for an autograph, he just says, "Back off, Toro." And I was like, oh my God. Like, no. But a lady screams that she saw the fish in the splash pool. She's convinced it was a piranha. And so Maddie's like, that's it. I'm evacuating. Chet confronts her and she's like, there are piranhas here. And he's like, I can't let you do that. And this is where her boyfriend, Kyle, kind of restrains her.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't let people panic. But then we see the lazy river. And as one of the floaties floats under the bridge, then there's blood in the water. It's a pretty cool shot.
Yeah.
But we got piranha and everyone is screaming.
Yeah.
We cut to the guy who is fucking that water pump.
I 100% know that they only shot him fucking that water pump once. And they were like, all right, fuck the water pump. Okay, cool. While we've got you in this shot, also react like a fish bit you in the a-hole.
Yeah.
And so he did that. And then they just moved the camera and shot the spraying scene where he's like spraying the spray everywhere. They shot him out in one day because the only time you see that guy is when he's having sex with that thing, walking past Cerie and jumping in her vomit, or having a fish ripped out of his asshole.
No, because he blows it up at the end.
Oh, I guess. Okay, so you see him in like 4 scenes.
Yeah, you see him in like 4 scenes.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is where Ving Rhames is like, bring me my legs. And you're like, yes, I don't even know what this means.
And he literally cocks his legs.
Well, but the funny part is we see the legs first. And he's like, titanium, motherfuckers. And they have Tims on the bottom of it. It's just like titanium rods with Tims. And then he removes one and we reveal that there's a shotgun leg, which looks like the end of a crutch, but then with a shotgun.
Yeah, it's
and
awesome,
he just be
Paige.
shooting the fuck out of fish. And it is awesome.
And saving people. Like Ving Rhames is a hero in this movie. He's amazing.
He's a hero. Titanium. Who knew?
Yeah.
But anyway, they like get people out of the water. And then David Hasselhoff hears people screaming. And then this is where we do the contra zoom multiple times where he's like, am I going to save that kid? Am I going to save that kid? Am I going to save that kid? And he's like, oh, he went back in the water? Little ginger moron.
Yeah.
But so he goes running. We get the Baywatch theme. He gets winded immediately.
Yeah.
He gets back up. He pushes other people into the water to save that one kid.
Yeah, but listen, Paige, he saves him. He saves that child.
He does. He saves that kid, but then the kid's like, can you put me down now? And he's like, all right. And just puts him down and then just goes and sits back on the lifeguard chair.
Like nothing is happening. He's like, I'm safe up here. They can't jump this high.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And it is, much like the last one, a fucking bloodbath.
Yeah.
And Maddie goes and punches Chet, and she's like, we got to drain the pool.
She gives him a real whammy.
Yep.
Which is his catchphrase from Anchorman. Sorry. Where he plays the 60s version of this man. I mean, they're in the same universe. I don't know if you know this, but he's playing that guy's grandson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she has him force drain the pools, and Chet grabs the cash box and is trying to leave.
I love as he walks past the child who's like holding her dead mother, and he like
oh my God,
takes some
I
cash out of the
died.
cash box and like sprinkles it on her dead mom, and
But then he
gets in
gets
the
in the
golf
golf-
cart and backs over the child, who is like, oh my God, Paige, insane.
But as that's happening, she sends Barry to go do the pumps, and he's like, just so you know, because he knows, hey, they might die. It's a crazy day. He's like, I've loved you since 7th grade, and I always will. And she just goes, oh, I thought you were gay.
Yeah.
And like kisses him on the cheek, and he runs to go help anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, he backs over her, and then we get close-ups of running boobs. But as he tries to drive away, one of the flag banners hangs low and decapitates him.
Which he's going maybe 5 miles an hour on that golf cart. Even if that thing was sharp, it wouldn't cut his head off like it does.
No.
It's insane. What happens is insane because he like hits something and his head flies off, now decapitated, and goes over into the adult pool.
And lands on a bloody lady's boobs.
And she, screaming, motorboats the head
The severed head.
further into her cleavage and then throws the head.
Into the pool where we see it on the cooch cam.
We do, yes. And we also see like a fish come and bite a lady on that same shot. Like, anyway, it's crazy. Like, okay, so Paige, is it just me or are you as broken as I am that when that happened, I was like, I'm actually sort of happy for that guy that when you get decapitated, you retain some like sight and movement capabilities because, I mean, I'm sure he didn't want to get decapitated.
I think he would have liked the boobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think he would have been like, if I have to go, this is the way. You know, like...
I felt like it was a fitting send-off that he was destroyed and consumed by his mad dream of having an adults-only pool area.
I definitely think he got what was coming to him, yes.
I was still reeling from him backing the golf court over the little
Paige, I laughed out loud. I was like, ha ha, what's happening?
backing the golf cart over the little girl because she just goes like, ow, hey! Like, you don't see it. You just hear her.
Yeah.
And I lost my mind. I was like,
It was very
oh.
funny, yeah.
So good. Anyway, they force drain the pools. Most of the fish get kind of sucked down into the pumps, but some of them don't because one of the pumps breaks. And Barry is trying to get all the pumps going. The guy who's been fucking the pump comes in and is like, hey man, do you see anything in the back? And he's like, yeah, you've got a fish in your, and he like pulls it out.
He like rips the fish out of his butt.
Yep. Because of course there's a fish in a butt in this movie. It's this movie. And that guy then becomes responsible for trying to keep the pumps going as Barry runs back out to try and save Maddie, even though he can't swim.
And while the pumps are getting turned on, we've seen Maddie getting sucked down to the drains.
Right.
And it made me so mad that she's getting sucked down through just like limbs and hands that are like floating in the water, not getting sucked down.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that the limbs weren't being sucked either.
There's only one shot, and it's the very first time they show the drain sucking that it does. You see like it pull limbs and stuff. In every other shot, you see it affecting her.
Yeah.
You'll see things floating in the water that it does not affect. Because I'm sure that the spinny effect of the water draining is After Effects.
Yeah.
It's probably literally in After Effects. And they just had like a harness on her that was pulling her down, right?
Right.
But not everything else that was just floating in the water. So it looks like in G.I. Joe when they're in the ice base and the ice starts breaking up on top and it like starts to fall down on the base below. And that's not how ice works in water.
I've never seen G.I. Joe, but okay. I trust you.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
Okay.
Anyway, but it made me laugh in this movie because this movie is this movie.
Yeah. And Barry realizes he can't get to her fast enough because he will not be able to swim and he will be a liability.
Right.
So he grabs a trident that was somewhere in this park and he like spearfishes a piranha out of the way and so that she doesn't get bit.
He literally does what I'm assuming is the premise of Fish Hunter, which is going to be David Hasselhoff's new show after this.
Yep.
Where I guess he just walks from town to town spearing fish that are attacking women. I don't know.
Who's to say?
But it's crazy that this works because that's a plastic trident and it goes into water and then through a fish. Like, no, none of that would happen.
I thought it was metal and it was just spray painted.
Oh, maybe it is. I thought it was like a Fisher-Price trident, Paige. It looks like it.
The only reason I think so is because of what happens with it later. I feel like it's got to have some heft.
No, I know. I mean, it's also as equally ridiculous that it happens, that happens, you know?
Yeah. But he grabs a cinder block to like anchor him in the pool.
To weigh himself down. Yeah, he's trying to save the love of his life. He's loved her since 7th grade.
Yeah. And so he pulls her out. He successfully saves her. He gives her mouth to mouth. And she wakes up and like realizes it's him and kisses him. And he's still got the cinder block, which means he dragged it out of the wave pool. I was like, dude is yoked.
Dude had to, bro. He had to do that.
Yeah.
He didn't want to get dragged down in the water again. Yeah.
Yep.
And I do love that he's like, I watched a movie called The Sandlot as a kid. I know a surefire way to kiss her.
He looks like but it's not but he does.
Yeah. No, I know, but it's like, it's real Wendy. Is it Wendy Peppercorn? Is that
Wendy
Peppercorn, yeah.
My darling lover girl. Oh.
Yeah, so it's a really real Wendy Peppercorn kind of vibes.
Yes. What we needed was this magic moment like playing over it.
I do love that he like, I'll show you how gay I am.
Yeah, I'm so gay. I'm water certified.
He is water certified after this for sure.
But this is also after Kyle had a chance to save her and didn't. He let her fall into the pool and like
he like is frozen in fear once he actually sees that they're real piranhas, I guess, which Paige, to your point before, he didn't really think they were real when he rushed in to save her.
Right.
So we see when he really sees and knows there's a danger, he's very much of a coward, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but then this is where, so the Hoff is running around because he's drunk on power, having saved one person.
Right.
And then Kyle is like, save a life, Kyle, save a life, and runs in and grabs a literal skeleton, like a Halloween skeleton out of the wave pool. And he's like, no, God, call for a medic. And you're like, bro.
He's literally carrying Mrs. Spirit Halloween decoration to 2012.
Yes.
And like, it's like that. It's Party City skeleton. He's carrying it out of the water. And there's no danger anymore, more or less.
Right.
Or we think. Because Barry, of course, the good guy in this movie, who everyone should love and always care for, the Barry in your life. You should always love that because it's me, Paige. That's the joke. I'm the Barry of this movie.
I get it. I get it. But sometimes there's not a love connection, and you need to be okay with. No,
I don't mean like everyone should love them romantically. I mean just like love them as a person. Anyway,
sure.
Because they were shitting on him all movie.
Yeah,
I would be fine if like Maddie and him didn't get together. Like
yeah.
Anyway, but like, you know, he has already saved the day at this point by doing the pumps. And Maddie's also done a lot of work to save the day too. Like, so it's really just her ex-boyfriend Sheriff trying to like cover his ass to be like, oh, I was saving this person while you guys were saving people too. I was working, you know, that whole thing.
But meanwhile, in the pump room, that one guy who been fucking the pumps dumps a ton of chemicals into one of the tanks and then drops a lit joint in.
Yeah.
He says, adios pescados. And Park basically explodes a lot of places.
Yes.
And fish are everywhere. Multiple fish fall onto a grill. I thought that was hilarious.
Paige, I thought it was very convenient that this, I'm going to say ecological disaster just turned into a barbecue. Like, let's go. Let's do this.
Let's get
Hasselhoff on that grill, baby.
And if you're wondering if fish fall onto boobs, of course they do.
How could they not? You've heard us talk about the movie up to this point. You knew that was going to happen.
You knew. But this is also where everyone's kind of like, oh, good, it's over. And Ving Rhames goes, I got the shotgun leg from the money I saved on socks, which is one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
We talked about it earlier. It is a crazy, crazy line, yeah.
Especially because earlier when he has the Timbs on the end, there's socks underneath the Timbs.
Of course there are, because the actor Ving Rhames in this scene is wearing what is probably like green yoga pants.
Like probably green screens. Yeah.
So he's probably wearing green yoga pants that are tight on his legs, right? His actual legs.
Sure.
And then he just put on his shoes and socks and showed up to set, wearing, of course, his costume that you actually see him wearing.
Yes.
And then they just green screened out his legs. But like, those are just, he brought those socks from home. Like, that's my point. Like,
Yes.
he just showed up to set and they were like, perfect.
No notes.
Put the green Lulus on underneath all that and then get in the pool.
Yep. But this is where Maddie is like, oh, they are evolving and the fish are not dead. They're learning to walk out of the water. And the kid tries to get video.
And we see one like on its fins walking out of the. It was so funny, Paige. I laughed out loud. It was so funny.
Well, and then the kid is videotaping. He's like,
We see the ginger moron David come over. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
He's like, don't worry, they're slow on land. And then it just jumps and bites his entire head off.
Yes, his head is just gone.
It's just gone. And it seems like that's the end of the movie, except there's a post-credit scene called Fish Hunter, where it's David Hasselhoff doing a new Fish Hunter show. And that's the movie.
So can I, before we do the final thoughts, can I say, had they just done a Fish Hunters trailer that was shot for shot the Bitch Hunters trailer from 30 Rock, where it's Will Ferrell kicking open a door with a shotgun and says, "Where are the bitches?" or whatever. But if it was just David Hasselhoff kicking open a door on land and saying, "Where are the fishes?" I'd have lost my fucking mind. Although that's such a specific reference, no one would get it except for me. It would be me, Tina Fey, and Amy Poehler laughing. But like, I would have lost my mind.
Bitch Hunter is one of my favorite 30 Rock gags.
It's such a stupid quick cutaway. It's so funny.
Well, one of them, there's just a giant sign that says brunch with an arrow. And he's like, "Get ready, bitches." And just like walks in the direction of brunch. It's so funny.
It is very funny.
Stupid.
But having seen this movie, having talked about this movie, what did you think about Piranha 3 Double D?
I mean, yeah.
I hope to never watch it again, Paige. I truly mean
watch
that.
it again.
I never want to watch any of the 63 minutes or whatever that this movie actually is if you cut off the credits on either side.
I think it's fun. I think especially if you watch them back to back, I think it would be exceptionally fun. I think just make sure there's no children present.
I think if you put this on at an adult party, I don't mean like a sex party, but I mean like a party where there are only adults, right? And you're just like having cocktails, chatting, having a good time, and want to watch some like just crazy, stupid, silly horror movie to like be like, "Oh my God, did she just step on a fish and a dick shoot across the floor? What the fuck?" Like, if you want to have those experiences with your closest friends and family, absolutely double feature this and the original Piranha, because you'll have a lot of moments like that.
Yeah.
But like, I can't really see much value for this movie outside of that.
I would say double feature it with Snakes on a Plane. I would say Snakes on the Plane is a better movie and a more fully realized movie, but
I honestly can't imagine it's not. Like, this movie is barely a movie. This movie's barely got enough plot for a TV show, like a TV episode.
Yep.
Anyway, no notes for Hasselhoff. No notes for David Koechner or whatever his last name is, however you say
David
it.
Koechner.
David Koechner. Like, man, I don't know anything about him as an actual person, but he is.
I've heard he's a nice guy.
Okay, so I was going to say this. Like, this is such an insane thing to say, Paige, and we may have to cut it, and I apologize for that. But do you think he's worried that like the press is going to get wind that like he's a great father and it's going to ruin his career?
He is a dad.
Like,
he's got kids.
I know. But like, his lane is like the dirtbag dad lane, you know? So like, like if he's just like a committed husband and great father, like, is he trying to keep that under wraps?
No, I think it's better to be a nice person that plays evil people than the other way around.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know him. I don't know anything about him personally, but he just plays this guy so well. He's so good.
But I mean, think about like Robert Englund is a great example of like nice dude that plays monsters.
A monster, literally a monster. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Although I think both of them probably, and I think I've seen more interviews with the professor from Urban Legend than I have with David Koechner or whatever. So like, I do think that I think Robert Englund is like a very funny, silly, probably very intelligent kind of guy who can just play this monster.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, maybe it's the same.
I would say it's always better. You never want to have the good guy persona because then you can't make any mistakes. And people make mistakes sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think it's tougher to be Paul Rudd in that scenario than it is to be David Koechner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I did love Paul Rudd's cameo in this movie when he's like, "You look like you got bit by a piranha."
You sound like you're from London. He's not in this movie.
But anyway, Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts.
Piranha
fun facts.
So 95% of the film's box office receipts came from overseas.
Oh, we'll talk about that, Paige.
It was particularly popular in Malaysia, and no one really knows why.
I have like
I think it's
5
the
or
boobs.
6 questions. It's got to be the boobs, right? It's got to be the boobs.
Everyone got to keep a piranha fish egg when filming was over.
Oh, a fish egg? Oh,
Yeah.
I want one of those. If I had one of those, I would make a cane out of it. I would like encase it in amber and then put it at the top of a cane. And then I'd walk around with it, sparing no expense, Paige. Starting my new water park, the wettest wet. Paul Scheer, call me. I have a pitch for Piranha 3 Triple D.
I'm going to say Gabe of a Homemade Horror.
Yes, Gabe.
If you ever want to make piranha eggs.
You wouldn't even have to send it to me for free, which I've appreciated you doing in the past. I would buy one of those from
I'd
you.
buy a piranha egg. That'd be great.
Gabe, come at me.
Gabe Lapierre of Homemade Horror. You can follow them on Facebook, Instagram, etc.
Yeah, check out Gabe's stuff. It's great, guys.
But yes, if you ever want to make piranha eggs, let me know. Most of the actors and actresses were given scuba training,
Nice. Okay.
including the actress who played Maddie, who was not a very confident swimmer. So she had to do a lot of swimming training for this and does a great job.
She does a lot of swimming in this, actually.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's actually one shot of her like pretty expertly diving into a pool.
Oh, yeah, she's good.
She must have gotten good at swimming for this movie.
Yeah. Most of the piranha, as much as humanly possible, they used puppets, which I think is great. I love a good puppet.
Most of the piranhas in this are just like rubber piranha. Like it's very clear that they're rubber.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, I think it is very B movie trope. Like I think they did that on purpose because we do see some CGI, you know, so they could have just CGI'd a bunch of fish and not had any fish. But the fact that there's a shitload of rubber fish just flying around like they're shot out of fish cannons, I was here for it.
It's amazing.
I want one. I'm sure people have a.
I would love a piranha. If somebody has a piranha, I want one mounted.
I bet if you went to like June and Paul Scheer's garage, they have a box full of these.
Of piranha.
And I just want one. Paul, please let me have one. Also, come be a guest.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you want. So Christopher Lloyd, Paul Scheer, and Ving Rhames all reprise their roles from the previous film.
Of course.
The sound of the piranha, because the piranhas growl, even though they're underwater, which is a great feature of this movie, but it's just the sound of a chihuahua growling, which is great.
I mean, piranhas are the chihuahuas of the sea. Everyone says it, Paige.
Everyone knows this. The opening shots of Lake Victoria are filmed at the Salton Sea.
Oh, no shit. Okay, I did not know that, but I am a little bit obsessed with the Salton Sea because I am also obsessed with what is known as like abandoned architecture porn.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I love
Which is like people going to like buildings that have been like evacuated for 40 years and taking like these awesome photos of it and stuff. And the Salton Sea is one of my favorites just because it was like a whole resort that built up and then died out.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole resort out there that's been in the desert for like 60 years untouched. It's crazy cool. Anyway, I only knew that because I'm a nerd. I didn't know they actually shot it there.
I like abandoned theme parks. Abandoned theme parks are my favorite.
Yeah, so that's a whole genre of like abandoned architecture porn. Yeah. I love it too. Like this is going to sound crazy because of this podcast, but I think one of the coolest ones is like abandoned like asylums and stuff like that.
Yeah, abandoned asylums are fucking terrifying. Yes.
They're so scary, but I've seen someone do one. I can't remember where it was. I think it was in China, honestly, but it was on an island and it just had overgrown with vegetation. So like ivy had climbed up the wall. Paige, it was insane looking. Oof. Anyway,
there's like an abandoned theme park in Japan that I am fascinated with, and a couple others around. But I love abandoned theme parks because they look so kind of ethereal because there's always like fantasy characters and things, but then they're all overgrown and it's a very creepy vibe.
They always feel post-apocalyptic to me because it's like happy,
but stalled in time.
Yeah, all the aesthetic of a theme park is like happy, excitement, adventure, that kind of stuff. And then as you add in like 60 years of unworn decay, like you also see like, it's like this juxtaposition of like happiness and sadness at the same time. It's crazy. I love it.
This is part of why Jake and I went to an art exhibit that was in LA recently, and I think is about to be touring the country called Luna Luna, where it was a theme park that was designed entirely by artists in the late 80s, early 90s. And some of them are pop artists. Some of them are kind of more established artists, like Salvador Dali was one of them. Some of them are performance artists. We went because we're big Keith Haring fans. And so like he had done a carousel and a number of things.
Yeah.
And they then packed it all into shipping containers so that it would go to the next tour spot. But the Berlin Wall fell, a bunch of other stuff happened, and it never happened. And then they found those shipping containers and they have then restored the park inside so you can like walk around it.
That's cool.
But yes, it all grows out of I like old theme park things.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to fun facts.
Yeah. Sorry.
Initially, this film was supposed to take place 5 to 10 years after the events of the first film. Instead of, I think it tells us it's 1 year, but that would have shown fully adult piranhas as implied at the end of the first film. I think this changes because in 2011, the production had kind of stalled, so they brought in a new screenwriter to try and rewrite the film to complete it.
Paige, this film has 3 credited writers, and that makes me so angry.
I mean, it does, but it doesn't, because like, I think part of the reason there's 3 is because they had to finish it. And if there were not 3, we would not have had a finished movie. But also, secondly, I do love what we ended up with. It is madness.
It is madness.
And it's in line with the first film. I feel like they make sense together.
Oh, they're certainly on theme.
Yeah. And hey, sometimes it takes multiple people to get something right. But John Gulager wrote both the songs that David Hasselhoff sings in the movie.
Oh, perfect. But David Hasselhoff sings more than one song in this movie.
Yep. Filming was supposed to start in January 2011 in Baton Rouge with a release date of August of that year.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is a crazy schedule.
Yeah, that's very fast.
And that's how I was figuring that they had probably done this, because I was like, you could probably just rent a water park in the off season, and this is very easy to do.
Literally rent it for like 2 weeks even.
25 days is the entirety of production.
Okay.
Yeah. But it became apparent that the weather was too cold in that location at that time of year.
Oh.
So they had to move.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah. Which didn't surprise me, because I was trying to think about it, where I was like, this doesn't look like California, but I feel like California is one of the few places, and maybe Nevada, Arizona, maybe, where in off season when water parks would be closed, you would still have weather warm enough to use a water park.
Yeah.
Because like our water parks do close in like September usually, but depending on the weather, October, sometimes later or sometimes earlier in like April, May before they open, like those times are warm enough to still use a water park safely.
Sure.
I would say. So
that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, Baton Rouge in January would be cold.
Yes.
At times. I mean, you wouldn't want to be in water a lot.
Yeah. In an earlier draft of the script, David Hasselhoff was introduced at an Applebee's restaurant.
That is
instead of his motel.
Oh man. I can't think of Applebee's without thinking about what happened to us the last time we were at an Applebee's with Natalie. And Natalie she's allergic to gluten, dairy, and eggs. So we asked our waitress, hey, my girlfriend's allergic to gluten, dairy, and eggs.
We were asking about specific items on the menu and what they had in them, because we had questions.
Yeah, like, so like what can she have? And the waitress like looked at her and was like, so like what you need to do is like look through the menu, and then like if that dish has eggs in it, you can't have that.
It. And we're like, ma'am, like we were asking if the steak is cooked in butter. Like, please, we had crossed that Rubicon already.
So I can't hear Applebee's without hearing about that crazy exchange.
It was so funny. With the feet jumping in vomit, that is John Gulager's feet.
Oh, okay.
Gulager's feet. So, according to the director of the first movie, he had intended for the sequel to take place in Thailand with a much larger piranha attack. You may remember this from the end of the first movie, with the third act of the film happening during a major festival. So, like, the first movie teases out that it might be in Thailand during a festival and then cuts away. But apparently that would have been the original planned sequel. That would have been the third act.
Yeah.
But I think they did not have the funding they needed to do something like that.
Probably not.
Yeah. They also considered filming on location in Detroit.
Interesting.
I'm going to end with this one because it's pretty fun. But a website called The Clever published a list called 15 garbage movies with a ton of skin. And this is number 12.
What? There are movies above this?
I think one of them might be a potential for the rest of this month because we picked a bunch of movies. Although if one of the movies we picked is not streaming, we may have to sub one of these in. But I realized too late that I had not picked a Wrong Turn sequel.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't done any.
Which are supposedly garbage movies with a bunch of skin. So think about that for listener request. Maybe a Wrong Turn movie.
Well, we'll see.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. I already told you guys the production budget for this was $5 million, but if you adjust that for inflation, that's $6.8 million. Now, Paige, you know this movie did pretty well internationally. You mentioned it earlier.
Yes.
Do you happen to know how it did domestically?
I have no idea. I know that it was only in 75 theaters.
It actually got up into 86 theaters, but
okay,
it was probably in 75 theaters on average for its 3-week run. But it was released the week of June 1st, 2012, and it was in 86 theaters that week. It was 24th in the theater rankings. It was beat by Snow White and the Huntsman.
Oh, I remember that.
Number 2 was Men in Black 3. Number 3 was The Avengers. Number 4 was Battleship. And number 5 was The Dictator. Now, keep in mind, Paige, it was only in 86 theaters. But how much do you think it brought in its opening week?
I think opening week, 86 theaters, it brings in $800,000. And all of those people are How Did This Get Made fans? Like, exclusively.
I 100% am sure that is true. So, but it only went on to make $182,000 in its opening weekend and only a total of $370,000 in its total domestic run. But it did make $6.1 million internationally, the majority of which coming from Russia. It made $2.2 million in Russia, but Paige, in Malaysia, it did make $1.1 million, which seems like an insane amount for Malaysia. I honestly don't know the population of Malaysia, so I don't know if that's like a lot.
I have no idea.
I don't think I've seen Malaysia be that high on an international list ever. So anyway,
seems like a lot.
But it did make its budget back. So was it a success? Yeah, kinda. It was.
There you go.
So like the total box office there was $6.5 million on a $5 million budget. So remember, I don't know if you remember from when we adjusted for inflation on that $5 million, but the $5 million adjusted was $6.8 million. The 6.5 gross like that it made worldwide would be almost $9 million. So it still made money, just didn't make a lot of money.
Got it.
But that's your box office. Paige, do you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Our scary scale is a scale of 1 to 10, ranking how scary we found the movie today when we watched it. 1 being Ghostbusters, 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd, where are you going to put it?
This is a 1 for me. There's a lot of things that should be jump scary that because of the like feel of the movie just aren't. So it's not scary.
Well, and because there's usually boobs in the same shot, it's hard to be scared.
It just like isn't scary. It's and it's not really trying to be though. You know, like it's in its lane and doing what it wants to do well.
Yep. Agreed. It's a 1 for me as well.
Nice. Well, Paige, this week you made us watch Piranha 3DD. And yes, it was Paige and only Paige that made us watch this. What are you making us watch next week, Paige?
Look, we are taking a harsh turn.
Okay.
For a movie that I have wanted to do since I came on this podcast. I have talked about it, not on mic necessarily, a lot. But it's a movie that I think is better than people give it credit for a lot of the time. And does take place during a European vacation. We're going to Hostel 2.
I knew when you said a European vacation that it was Hostel 2, because you have talked about this a lot.
Yes.
A lot early on, too.
Yeah.
Because I think right when you joined, we had just done the first one, right?
You had just done the first one.
Yeah, so you had talked about it back then. But
yeah,
I'm actually interested to hear you talk about it. I obviously haven't seen it, but you have.
You haven't seen it. I will go out on a limb early on and say Hostel 2 is a good for her movie.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes.
That's not always the case with Eli Roth, so.
It's not, but I think Hostel 2 is one of his better films.
Okay.
I do also like the original Hostel because like gore doesn't bother me that much, especially if there's a good story. And for as offensive as the original Hostel is, I know there's a lot of stuff in it. I get it.
Sure.
But I do think that is a real interesting, like as far as air quotes torture porn goes, I do think Hostel has a pretty interesting story where it's almost like Taken, but you're seeing the horrifying things that might happen to you. And there's a lot of tension and like, where are they? Who can they trust? Who can they not? Then how can they escape? I like the original. I really like Hostel too. It was one of those things where I watched them back to back and I was like, oh, I'm kind of into this. So yeah, Hostel 2.
Well, your homework for next week, guys, is to watch Hostel 2 and then check back for that episode, which I'm sure is going to be a lot of Paige talking about how much she likes it.
I mean, yeah, now it's been a long time. So it could also be one of those ones where I was like, I remember this being cooler, but
Oh shit, I can't wait to see if it holds up.
it might or might not.
That would suck.
It would. I'm pretty sure it holds up because I know I'm not the only one with these opinions.
Sure, yeah.
Anyway, Hostel 2. Let's go.
Anyway, check it out, guys, and then check out that episode.
Hey, do you have a review for us?
I do, and I also, look at this page, already have a Spotify comment from our most recent episode, so we're going to start there. This Spotify comment comes from Aaron, and this is from our The Nun 2 featuring Sammy Smart episode.
Such a bonkers fucking movie.
It is. Aaron says, Todd layering in the sound effect to every mention of Maurice cracked me up every single time.
I noticed that when I listened back through it. I was like, Todd, how long did this take?
You know what's very funny? Not long at all, because I was doing that live. Every time you guys said Maurice, I was doing it live. Yes. You guys, I think it was the Zoom, because Zoom will sometimes, I think it may be because I have a low voice.
Yeah, under a certain volume, you can't hear it.
As I do a high-pitched voice, it'll like tune it out because it's trying to only focus on the frequencies my voice is making. So I don't think you guys could hear me, but I was doing it.
We couldn't hear it in the moment at all. I heard it once or twice.
I think I only had to add it 4 or 5 times, which means I did it 17 or 18 times live.
Yeah, I only heard you do it live when we were recording, maybe once or twice. So that's wild that it was happening live. And Sammy and I both were like, yeah, and then the goat man popped that girl's head off like a Lego.
That was a really fun episode, guys. All right. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for that comment. Let me read this 5-star Apple review. And this one comes from Deadhead Dan 10. And they say, been enjoying this show. And it says ... Oh, because the title of the review actually has an ellipsis at the end of it.
Got it.
So it's been enjoying the show ... and then ...
Great.
After discovering from a quote last shift search, I'm assuming they mean the movie Last Shift because we did that.
I have never seen that movie, but I remember the episode on it and I was like, this movie sounds fucking good. I should watch that.
Paige, everyone should watch that movie. It is very scary. I did not care for it, although I think it's a good movie.
Right.
It's one of those like single location, scary, low budget movies. That's like executed well. Anyway, they go on to say, great chemistry, good humor, and some rabbit trails that end up paying off. On top of my positive first impressions, I heard them endorse I should read these before I do them. I heard them endorse Suboxone and other MAR meds to get off heroin. As someone with 9+ years sober/clean years, congrats.
Yeah, congrats.
I owe my life in part to those medications. And I don't remember necessarily talking about that on that episode because we recorded it years and years and years ago.
I know we've talked about it before on other episodes. Like we've oddly enough talked about naloxone and Suboxone more than once, for sure.
Yeah, it's probably because I am like very passionate about that space because I've lost a very close friend to heroin addiction, and Suboxone would have saved his life.
We all believe in a harm reduction model, I would say. This is something that doesn't always come up, but the three of us, you, myself, and Mikey, at least in our private lives, have talked considerably about how we feel about that.
Yeah, like I work in the space, and a lot of people that work in the space that are very pro medically assisted treatment, if you will always say this line. That is what sold me on it. The doctor that was giving the speech was like, of course I give people Suboxone because I can't fix someone who's dead.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. End of conversation. I get it. Okay, cool.
And they're people.
Yes.
You don't want people to die. Yeah. Like, period.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
They go on to say, I'm also baby-faced like Michael and can't grow a beard even at age 48.
Aww.
Good stuff all around. Count me in and on the bus going forward.
Yay.
So thank you so much, Deadhead Dan 10, for that awesome 5-star review, and Aaron for your Spotify comment. If you want to have me read your Spotify comment or 5-star Apple review, do one of those things and we will do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast, podcast, some might call it a sister podcast, called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back, and I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
That's going to be it for us, you guys, on Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys.
Bye.
Bye. I want to be Paul Shear's friend, nerds.